Hi everybody, this is Melissa Klein and I'm here to talk to you about how to paint a rose. And there it is on the windowsill, very beautiful. And I love the light coming through. And so just when I set this up a little bit, the first thing I did was try to have my canvas, or my paper in this case, a little bit to the side so that I could show you some of the watercolors and things that I'm using, and trying to give you a little glimpse of that, because a lot of times that happens off camera. Here I'm doing the sketch out, and one of the things that I described in the previous video was like how to look at everything coming out from this sort of center point and really looking at the layers of it. With doing roses, I think there's sort of, I kind of was working both a little bit from just observation and not trying to OCD too much about each little petal. And I was also, there were a few places where I was like, actually, I really want to use this very distinct certain petals as anchor points on it. Sketching very loosely, very light. And here too, I'm also checking, the goddamn ellipse problem happening again. Like, even though I believe the little glass vase that I'm using is hand blown and slightly asymmetrical, and was actually kind of a little bit tipsy on the windowsill, I decided to actually straighten it out a little bit. And here I am deciding to use the daffodil color of the inks that as an underpainting. And I'm just wetting the paper down a lot, but just in this one like center area, and you're gonna see, there it is, how I'm just dabbing the color on and I'm really letting it bleed. Now, initially, I was thinking about, while the yellow is still wet, I'm going to add in the red tones, but then I was like, no, I really want to let the yellow dry and do layers. One of the cool things about working with inks is that once it's dried, it really stays put. It does not come up the way watercolor or gouache or tempera does. So I was like, I really want to kind of capitalize on that. So I just decided to paint everything else around it. There was this kind of ugly yellow windowsill, which I actually like, or window frame, that is kind of been painted over from a green to a yellow. There's probably like, who knows, every person before me did something to this window pane, especially because I know one of you is in the middle of a huge window pane project. And it's really fun to mix yellows with grays. And here I'm actually not using true black. It's like a convenience color that's part of my watercolor set. And it's sort of like a blue-gray color. And in the other painting of this window frame, that I'm laughing, I'm like, thank you, Sharon, for making me obsessed with window frames. That it has a little bit of this sort of like celadon kind of green, which I decided to bring in. I really liked. I'm using here on the little bud vase a very similar technique that I used in the center, which is wetting down the shape of the bud vase and then just dabbing in the color and letting the color just kind of flow into it. I was seeing some browns, I was seeing some darker blacks, but not too black. And there are all these little bubbles in the water that I'm going to come back to later. But I thought it'd be kind of neat to kind of have a little bit of a modeled effect with that. The main challenge here was just keeping my hand out of the paint. Like, don't drag your paint. And normally if I was painting this not in front of camera, I would be doing, I would be moving the paper around and doing stuff like that. And here doing the windowsill. And I like how it looked on the left-hand side and how I did that. And then I kind of went overboard on the right-hand side and painted it a little bit too thick. So what I'm doing a lot of times is just kind of balancing it out a little bit. I'm pulling paint actually literally from the right-hand side and putting it on the left-hand side so that I can make it look like it's all one, on the same, plane, same piece of wood on the left hand versus the right hand. There I'm laying in the shadow. again, really liking for this project that whole like paint with water and then dab in color technique. And that's what I'm going to do for the windowsill, or for the outside the window pane. Decided to keep it very, very, very loose. There's a bunch of weeds and trucks and things like that. Not exactly. I'm like, no, we don't need to paint that. I just didn't really, you know, that level of detail. I not only time wise, but I didn't feel like it was really relevant for this painting. Noticing now I'm like painting where the windowsill, you know, the plane that's closest to me, and really making that very dark. And it was, because it's, you know, the light is catching on the flat plane where the bud vase is sitting, and then going here. Now, this is funny, as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing that, oh, I did, the right-hand side is a little bit lower than the left-hand side, so I'm going to show you guys how to fix that in my next video. Just playing around with the shadows, I would say. I had this moment where I was like, wow, everybody's getting really good at shadows except for me, and I'm the teacher. What the hell? But there, you know, there it happens. It's happening, actually. And kind of that blending thing. Noticing that there are a few places where I felt like it was getting a little bit too defined or blotchy, or there were too many hard lines. So I'm just going in there with a damp brush and using a lift technique and sort of pushing around what's already there as well. So there it is. Thank you for watching, and I will look forward to seeing what you do with this. Have a great, great day.